Hello everybody, I'm Rebecca Shelby, CCD's Media Coordinator. Today I'm sitting down with Saeeda Dunston, Elmcor's Executive Director, and we're basically going to be getting into things safe summer. We're going to be talking about cross collaboration, and overall we're just going to be highlighting her as a major stakeholder in her community. So thank you for sitting with me.
Thank you for taking the time out of your afternoon to sit with me. I appreciate it.
Of course. So we're just going to jump right into it. And we're going to get into your business a little bit.
It's okay.
So for my first question, what do you think the three biggest obstacles BIPOC youth face in the summertime? And what resources would you give those young people as positive outlets to channel those obstacles?
It's a serious question loaded with a lot of layers. So I'm going to start with the challenges. I don't know if I have three exactly, but I can talk about challenges I think that young people experience, especially in the summer. I think one of the greatest challenges we're seeing now is the lack of employment. So lack of employment is an issue across the board. We've seen that there's been some ups and downs and ebbs and flows of what we've done with summer youth employment. But the overall idea that young people need to be employed in the summer while they're not in school has historically been something that we know just promotes better skill building, gets them to be more independent. And when young people are not with things to do that are positive, it just breeds other things. And it's not really their fault. And I think that's one of the things in the challenges for me as well, for young people, is being identified as not the issue and not the problem, right? I think a challenge for young folks now is that people aren't just respecting youth for what youth is supposed to do. Like, young people are supposed to explore and push and see what their limits are and push beyond those limits, because that's how they develop. So young people constantly doing things that other people are constantly judging creates a dynamic of kind of elevated rebellion. Young people are supposed to rebel, but elevated rebellion comes when people are constantly pushing back on things that are normal and natural. So I would say for me, all of that, I guess I do have three, kind of rolls into the idea of like idleness. And that young people don't really have an idea of what they should be doing. Like, should I be working if I can't get a job, right? If everything that I do is a problem, then what should I be doing? And so it's almost forced idleness, because young people are curious and they want to do things. And if it is that you're not giving them positive alternatives, then they should be curious about everything and all things. And that's guns and violence and anything, if they're left with nothing else to do. So I guess that's kind of my answer to that. I'm not sure if I hit both points.
Oh no, you definitely did. You definitely did. I didn't think about the idleness aspect, not knowing what you're supposed to do, but then also being told to do something. So that's very interesting. When children are out of school and there's nowhere for them to constructively develop themselves mentally, emotionally, physically, what does that do to the community, parents, teachers, and just their overall, framework for development?
So I have two personal, you said you don't get in my business, so I'll give you some business. I have two personal kind of understandings of young people when they don't have anything going on. I've been doing this work a really long time. I have a lot of children personally, and I've raised many of them to be engaged in social justice work and just to be overall engaged in positive youth development work.
Right.
And I lost my son about 18 years ago to violence.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
On a day where they were off of school, right? And it wasn't like a structured day that most people are aware of. It was Jewish holidays, right? So these aren't days that most programs open up to do stuff. Like, you clear, it's Memorial Day weekend, we need to do something because we're scared young people will be engaged. But you never really realize that anytime they're out of school or anytime they're out of spaces with caring adults, there's an opportunity for other things to happen. I share that because I think one of the things that providers need to be very aware of is those times. Those times that are not traditionally the ones that we pay attention to as out of school time, but the opportunities for young people to be engaged in other activities because we're just not open or we're just not doing things. Secondly, we had a young man here who's obviously and clearly involved in certain activities that other folks would say would be street activities, right? And I remember him saying, because he was having some issues with some staff here who didn't know how to deal with his behaviors. And I remember him saying, but if I'm not there, where else am I gonna be? Mm. And he put us on notice. Like, you know, you can't say that you want to create a safe space, but you don't know how to handle me to create a safe space. And as I had told my staff, that was really important. Not that he had said it, but that they are aware of it. You know, we have to create safety for all young people. And I think that's one of the things that's critically important to me as we talk and discuss Safe Summer, is who are we making the summer safe for? Are we making it safe for all youth, or the youth you feel deserve and require safety, right? Because young people engaged in certain behaviors, they need safety too. Mm-hmm. And we have to figure out how to create safety for them as well.
100%. So how do you think sports and just different programs focused on personal development prepare just youth in general to be young adults that contribute to the community? And being that this organization has been around since 1965, have you witnessed some of that growth?
Yeah. So it's interesting. Just when you started the question, you talked about sports. I could talk a little bit about the history of the organization. So yes, we've been around since 1965, and we have not yet discovered anyone else. So we are going to say this until someone proves us wrong. But we are the oldest Black founded and Black led human service, social service organization in Queens. And so one of the things that we recognize in our history, the organization started in 65 for young people, right? The organization is Elmcor Youth and Adult Activities, but when it started, it was for young people, and it was to try to create a space, and it wasn't a physical plant space, it was the park, right? It was all that stuff, but to create spaces where young people were engaged in sports as an alternative to the high gang activity that was happening in the 60s. And so it was baseball initially, basketball, and so that was what they did to engage young people. I think what makes Elmcor unique and how they've grown over the last 57 years is about 2 years into that process, they realized you can do all the sports programs that you want. If you're not addressing everything else that's happening in their lives, you're going to also limit their opportunities. Because many of our young boys, of course, wanted to go to the league, right? I mean, anybody, I played sports. Anybody playing sports thinks that they're going from here to wherever, right? But then there's a reality of the limited opportunities for that. And so if that's the only concentration, if that's the only thing that we're discussing, if that's the only thing we're bringing as an opportunity, then other things happen. At the time, the heroin epidemic was so prevalent and was so pervasive that Elmcor got into the business of substance use prevention, treatment, recovery, and harm reduction work. Because it was like, you can't just take kids out of the streets. You can't just... And our old rehabilitation director used to literally remove sawed-off shotguns off of young people on Northern Boulevard. Wow. So we've been doing what is now considered violence interruption work the entire time, right? And we understood, though, and still understand, that our folks don't come to us as singular issue people. Black and brown folks are beautifully complex. And so we need to be beautifully complex in what we provide them. So we try to make sure that we give everything. We're a lifespan organization. We have young people as young as 3 in our programs and 103, right? We make sure that we are really, truly a human justice organization, which means that we support our entire community, not compartmentalize the aspects of them. Safe Summer for me is not just safe for young people. It's safe for our elders, right? It's safe for those who need a safe place to use substances. It's safety on all levels.
I love that. And if you do you have a little anecdote about maybe just some of that growth you witnessed from the start just working here?
I have an anecdote. I would say this. I've been here for almost 8 years. Mm-hmm. I'm a girl from the neighborhood, so that's also kind of cool, is that this is my community. And I would say what I've seen in our growth over the past 8 years is just the kind of living out loud, right? As a Black organization, to remain safe for ourselves, we kind of kept very under the radar, right? Because you don't want to always be in the forefront, because as an organization run by people of color, you're always being targeted. We're no different than the community we serve.
Course.
We are our community. And so there's been a lot of like, we're going to do this work quietly. And so I would say in our growth, it was really about being loud about it and doing opportunities where things like working with CCD, who has been very loud about the work that they do, to be in collaboration, but be in collaboration loudly, to say that we are here, that this work is possible. And one of the things I think that Elmcor's growth in the last 8 years, I hope, gives inspiration to other organizations, is that it is possible to be around for multiple decades, to be thriving, not just surviving, and to be able to say that we know best what our community needs because we are our community.
I love that. And with ensuring there's places for the community to come together in a positive manner, do you feel like events like Safe Summer are essential to community development?
I'm sorry, ask the question one more time.
Of course. So with having places for just everyone in the community to come together, and just, you know, be positive, be happy, be safe, and healthy, do you feel like events like Safe Summer are just essential to community development overall? Oh,
for sure. I think it's essential because that's what Elmcor has been doing for 57 years, and I know that we're essential. So I know that it's definitely essential. It's even more essential to extend safety for 365 days of the year. I think it's critically important that moments like Safe Summer and those who are supporting it, funding it, backing it, the electeds who are making sure that it happens, realize that young Black and brown youth need safety 365 days of the year.
I know that's right. I love that answer. And how do leaders like yourself just being more visible in the public, being actual stakeholders in your community, like you mentioned earlier, you're from this community. And just how does all of that, like how does visibility and representation make a difference nationally and locally in the Black and brown people that you serve in decreasing violence and also holding each other more accountable?
Yeah, very much similarly to what I said earlier, right? As an organization, as a people, I think we have been very quiet.
Yeah.
And I think we've been very quiet, as I said, for survival. You know, people love us and love to hate us at the same time. And so the visibility and the critical piece of being visible and being loud about it, as I like to say, is because our young people have to feel confident that they're not insane. That their desires, their dreams, their wants to be more than the limited box that people have put them in is definitely not crazy. That is not a box that was, you know, designed by you but created for you. And so seeing people fight the good fight, as they say, not on behalf of young people or not on behalf of Black and brown communities, but with them,
yes,
right, with them being the actual focal point. Myself, my brother Kate Bain, who I've been doing this work with, and so many others, we are just representations of a long line of ancestral people who've been doing this work, and are really excited about the future work. Because if this is what we're doing, imagine what they can do.
Yeah. And I'll say this, I actually had the honor to come to the gala you guys recently held, and we were kind of across from some of the young people you honored, and what you just spoke to definitely translates in their attitudes, how confident they were in themselves. So I just wanted to share that.
I appreciate that.
Of course. And for our final question, I'm enjoying our time, but this is our last question. Just in the spirit of just the Human Justice Network, Healing Justice, and everything else, how does, you know, Kay Bain just bringing together these different organizations against these things and working in collaboration for Safe Summer, how does that encourage positive change just throughout New York City and just other organizations that might be doing the same work but don't understand the importance of togetherness and working together, and it's not just one job one person can do?
Yeah. So I think Kay Bain is a representation of everything that I understand to be true and genuine. And I say that because when I came to Elmcor, I had done a lot of work in Brooklyn for a very long time. And I was just accustomed to organizations collaborating together, didn't really think about it, was just what had happened. And I came to Queens and I was like, wait, people aren't just naturally working together. And I didn't know if it was because of the geographical limitations. It's not, it's a very vast, large piece of geography, and didn't know what was happening. And so we tried to do a lot of collaborative partnerships, and we've had some that's been successful and some that have not been. But the relationship that we've been able to build with CCD, with the leadership and the vision of Kay Bain, has shifted that a lot, because you can't want that vision too by yourself, right? And that's what makes the network so helpful, is it's not just one person who sees that collaboration is necessary, but it's more than one. And for a long time, I struggled when I first came in this borough to work. Like I said, I'm from here. But to get everybody to see the importance of it. But Kay kind of made me not, once again, like I said, about you, not feel crazy. Like, this is the only way we can do this work, is to collectively do it together. And so Kay is definitely the kind of person that sees the importance of it. And because of it, he goes out of his way. And that's what you have to do when you're doing network building. You have to go out of your way. And he's definitely willing to do that.
I love that. Thank you so much, Saeeda, for
No
taking
problem.
time out of your busy schedule and just sitting down with us. Thank you so much for just giving us your time and your words of wisdom.
Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to a truly safe summer.
Yes.